Welcome back, everyone. For today's video, we are going to be taking a look at round number 5 of Norway Chess being held here in Stavanger. Now, yesterday was a rest day. There were no games of chess being played, although the players did have an excursion and we all went out and played Cowboys. Now, after the rest day and a nice excursion, we're back at it today, and I'm playing with the black pieces against Arjun Ergaisi, the last player in the event whom I have yet to face. This round also marks the halfway mark in the tournament. So, I have the black pieces, and let's jump right into the action. We got the move d4, I play d5, c4, and now once again I play the classic Slav defense for the second time in this tournament. As you might recall, I won in my very first round game against Fabiano Caruana, getting me off to a very good start. So we get the move knight to f3. Here I play the move knight to f6, knight c3, and now I go for this line with d takes c4. We get the move a4, bishop to f5, and now Arjun goes for the move knight to e5. Now in this position, the old main line used to be the move pawn to e3, e6, and bishop takes c4. Knight to e5 these days is considered to be a bit more challenging, as white tries to get the knight to a better square on c4 and try to build a big white center immediately. Now here I play the move knight bd7. Many years ago, let's just say about 20 years ago, when I first took up the Slav defense, this line with e6, f3, and bishop to b4 was considered to be the main line where black sacks a piece, and everything is very chaotic from the get-go. Now this line, I believe, is still considered to be fine for black in modern theory, but today I wasn't really in the mood to go for this. So instead, I decide to play this move knight bd7, we get knight takes c4, queen c7, and now Arjun plays the move g3. Now white aims to potentially fianchetto the bishop with bishop to g2, but g3 also supports the idea of bishop to f4, where the bishop can attack the queen on c7. So here I play the move e5, and after playing the move e5, Arjun decides to take the pawn. I take, he goes bishop to f4, trying to pin the tail on the donkey. I go knight d7, re-guarding my horse, and now we get the move h4. Now this move is not necessarily a mistake, but in many top games, the move bishop to g2 is played more frequently. Usually black responds with a move like g5 or f6 here, but when white plays the move h4, white immediately takes away this g5 idea, because if I push the p, white takes back with the pawn, and I'm simply down a pawn for nothing. So Arjun plays h4, and now I decided to play this move f6. We get bishop to h3, takes, and here I play the move rook d8. Now, as you will notice, I have been surprised by this move h4. I knew that it was a line, but it's not something I had reviewed before the game. So I was using a lot of time, and already here, as you can tell, I'm down 30 minutes, and again, one of the big issues is time pressure for me. So we get the move queen c2. Now I play the move queen to c8 here. When I play this move queen c8, I break the pin. I love to take the horse, but I lose my queen, and with it the game as well. So I can't take the horse, but when I go queen to c8 here after knight to d2, or let's just say white takes, for example, after knight takes and knight takes here, white is apparently still okay in this position, but I think black should be okay since white is unable to castle the king to the king side. Remember that white has moved this rook, and you can't castle to the queen side, as that would go through a check. So Arjun plays move knight to d2, trying to keep all the pieces on the board. I play knight c5, attacking the rook on h3. We get rook h1, queen e6 castles, and now I play the move rook to d4. Now at this point, I spent 25 minutes before playing this rook d4 move. It was not my initial intention. Originally, I wanted to go knight to g4, but after knight to e4, I simply could not find a way to finish my development of the bishop and the king. Initially, I thought check, king b1, and knight d4 would be good, but after queen to c1 here, these knights might look really good, but very quickly, after bishop e7 and f3, the knights are getting pushed back very quickly here, and after knight f5, let's just say white takes and goes bishop a7 or bishop f2, doesn't matter. White is simply up a pawn in the center of the board, and these knights are just not it. So I spent 25 minutes, and ultimately, after being unable to make the move knight g4 work, I thought, you know what, I'm down on the clock, let's be aggressive. So I play the move rook to d4, creating the classic kebab on the 4th rank where I attack all the pieces, but more importantly, I'm really spying this pawn, and I want to lift the rook potentially to b4. So let's just say white goes bishop e3, and I play the move rook to b4. Suddenly this rook is very close to the pawns, which are near the white king, and with this great knight on c5, I think that black should be okay. Now here, Arjun spent a ton of time before playing this move king to b1. He spent 30 minutes himself here, giving up the entire time advantage, but it's not an easy position for either side to play, and it feels as though every single move requires some thought. Fortunately, while Arjun was spending his 30 minutes on this move, I was calculating at least my next move in response to whatever he does. So for example, if he goes bishop e3, I play rook b4, wait for a move and think. If he plays a move like knight to f3, for example, again, I just go rook b4, I wait for his move. If he plays e3, I go knight d3 here, and I'm doing great as well after king b1 and rook to b4. So basically, I had my next move in my pocket. Now, this is very important because after Arjun plays the move king b1 and I go knight to g4 here, Arjun has burned the whole time advantage, but now because of my very quick reply on the next turn, he suddenly has to sink into the tank and use a lot of time, and now already the game is starting to turn in general terms of the direction. Now, I know that was a bit of a mouthful. The line that I actually thought was most likely to occur in the game, by the way, was that Arjun would take the knight and play his move e3. And I thought after knight d3, king b1, knight b4, the game would end in a draw. After queen b3, queen g6, king a1, and simply a repetition by force. This was my baseline for what I expected, but of course it didn't happen. So, Arjun plays king b1, I go knight to g4, trying to take the pawn and fork the rooks on d1 and h1. Arjun plays knight to f3, and this move is simply a mistake. Now, I was very surprised to see Arjun play this, because even back here when Arjun spent 30 minutes on king b1, I had already calculated the line which occurred in the game. So we get king b1, knight g4, knight f3, I trade, and now I take the juicer on f2. Now, I must add, I was also shocked that Arjun did not play knight takes d1, as the knight guards the pawn on f2 while this queen guards the two other pawns. That's not to say that black is better here. I think I was going to play knight e4. No, not it. I was going to go queen e4 here, and I thought this was completely fine after takes, knight e4. I didn't see any issues for me, but it's also not the end of the world for white. Instead, Arjun took, and this allowed me to grab the pawn on f2. Arjun plays knight d4, and now I go for the move queen c4. Now, I saw all of this when Arjun was calculating king b1, so I was really surprised to see this on the board. I suspect that Arjun, having spent a lot of time and fallen behind here with time pressure looming, combined with the fact that there was just a ton of pressure in the position, overlooked the next sequence of moves. So he goes rook to d2, and now I play the move knight f to e4, and at this point, white is in a lot of trouble. White has lost the pawn on f2, and even though I'm behind in development with these three pieces having not been brought into the game here, white is just down a pawn, and there are going to be some massive exchanges here, meaning that it'll be an endgame, and I should have great chances to win. So Arjun takes, I trade the queens, I take the knight, rook d3, and now I go for the move knight to c5. Get rook to e3, king to f7, and now Arjun plays the move b4. Now here I am up one pawn, I have 6 pawns, white has 5 pawns, but it's a very tricky situation. Now my initial thought was maybe I could take, but after knight a4, rook to a3, b5, and knight takes c6, the knight guards the pawn on b4, and if I go a6 and white gets rook d3, suddenly white is infiltrating, and with the lack of development here on the king side, maybe white can even be better. So then I thought, why not knight a6? Now this is the best move, and I will say straight up, this is the move that if I look at this entire game, if I'm going to be unhappy, this is the one moment that I should be unhappy about, because after b5, knight b4, king b3, and takes, I think white takes with the knight here, I can simply go knight to c6, and apparently I'm just winning. Now, I think I saw some version of this with knight c6, but I assumed after something like bishop d6, white would be getting the pieces in here. But after the move knight to d4, knight takes bishop d6. If white goes knight f5, I have bishop to e5 here, creating the classic wooden shield. And now I will kick the knight on the next turn, and I should win the game. So, if there's anything I want to be unhappy about, it's this moment. But I thought, I'm not sure if knight a6 is working. Why not go back to d7? Because I'm still only 2 moves away from bringing the bishop and the rook into the game and winning. But after knight d7, Arjun plays rook d3. I have to move the horse. If I play bishop takes b4, there's knight takes c6, and white attacks the knight and the bishop at the same time. And now, if anything, white is probably better. So I move the knight away to avoid these tricks with the rook attacking the knight. Arjun goes king b3, and now I play the move a6. Arjun goes e4 here, trying to stop knight to d5. Worth pointing out that Arjun probably should have played the move a5, and after knight d5, bishop d2, with this idea of e4 and the activity on this d file, white is actually not even worse. But Arjun instead goes e4, trying to stop knight d5. I play bishop e7, we get knight f5, g6, and here Arjun plays the move a5. Now, at this moment, I have 12 minutes and 50 seconds versus 4:57. We are still 8 moves away from move number 40. This is only move 32, but this is the last critical moment of the game. Now, with no increment until move 40, it's very tricky here because you don't want to get too low on time, but this is also the moment that I have to make a big decision. Do I take this knight on f5 here, or do I play something like knight to c8? Now, initially, I thought I should play knight to c8, but after takes e5, takes, let's just say rook to e8, and bishop f4, I have this very, very bad knight that can't really get into the game easily, and white has all kinds of checks with the bishop and the rook, and so white should be able to draw. So then I thought, okay, well, I have to take the knight, he takes back, and this is the moment where I have to play either the move rook to d8 or the move pawn takes pawn. Now, I know because my second told me this after the game, apparently even on a supercomputer, it takes 5 seconds before it realizes that this move f takes e4 is in fact winning for black. It's not that obvious, and as I'm getting low on time here, I decide to go for a different endgame where I know there is zero risk and it's a complete 50-50. Either I'm completely winning or it's a dead draw, but there's no risk, and so I thought, conceptually, let's go for that endgame. Now, the winning line here would have been to play the move pawn takes pawn, and after rook to d7, creating the kebab here, I have rook d8, sacking the pawn on b7, and now the very nice move pawn to e3, because if white takes the pawn, I have check, king c2 takes, and actually one line that I kind of saw some shades of, I didn't calculate this all the way through, but one of the lines that I saw some shades of the boogeyman was something like b5 takes and a move like rook c7, and suddenly the p is getting through. Now, even this doesn't work because I can take the pawn and go rook g8, rook c8, and bishop d6 to stop the pawn from queening, but frankly, with 5 minutes on the clock and no increment, this is a very, very dangerous moment, and going for this simply felt a little bit too unrealistic. Now, on top of that, after the move e3, there's also another line with king c2, e2, bishop d2, and now after the move king to e6, white goes rook c7, bishop d6 takes, and another very important move, king d7, and after white goes rook c3, there's the move rook c8, and this this bishop and pawn endgame is going to be winning after bishop to e1, because I can simply I can take and go bishop takes e1, which is winning here. This is insane. And also, if white were to play the move like takes, for example, king d3, or not king d3, sorry, bishop e1 here, I can go king b7, king d3, takes, and now after the move f5, followed by king b5, and bishop takes b4, this is a winning endgame. Now, is this easy to see with 5 minutes on the clock, no increment? Not at all. So when people wonder, am I really upset about missing this one? I'm not that unhappy because I think this was very complex. If I had 30 minutes on the clock, perhaps I would feel a different way. But it is a really, really difficult line where I have to see every single move. It's not enough just to see e3. It's not enough just to see e3. I have to see the whole line all the way through to the end where I have to see king d7 and then rook c8. So with 5 minutes, I can't be too unhappy. And this is why when I talk about the game, I refer to that knight a6 move as being the one moment I can be unhappy with, because that is a move that I definitely could have played, but this line with 5 minutes I don't think was realistic. So I go for the move rook to d8. Arjun trades the rooks, goes bishop c7. Of course I play bishop e7. I do not trade the bishops because now the p gets through, the pawn promotes to a queen, and I resign the game. So I go bishop e7, Arjun takes, I go c5, takes, and now we get the move g4. Now, I had seen all of this when I was calculating the move g takes f5, and I really wasn't sure what was going on in this endgame, because when you look at the position here, I have an outside pass pawn that is protected that can run up the board here, and I figure my king can get in to win these pawns while my bishop attacks the pawn on b6. Now, of course, this is a draw of perfect play, but the fact is, if white makes even one wrong move, white will just lose, and there's no chance of winning. So I thought, practically speaking, low on time, made a lot of sense to go for this. We get the move king c4, and here I take the pawn on h4. Now, initially I was going to play the move king to g7, but I realized that if I go king g7, I think white can play the move bishop to d6 here anyway, and after bishop takes b6, bishop to e... Actually, sorry, not bishop b6, what am I saying? Sorry, king to d5 is what I saw, and after a5, we get a very similar line with bishop to f4, and after takes, I think white can now run the king up, and it should be a draw. So that's why I actually decided to play the move bishop takes h4. Unfortunately here, Arjun finds this move bishop d6, and I actually thought during the game here I was winning if not for this bishop d6 move. The line that I saw was king d5, and I thought after a5 here that this should be very, very dangerous for white. Apparently king c5 is still a draw, but this endgame looks very scary. I think this might actually be... Is this still a draw? This one might still be a draw somehow. I don't know why. Apparently this is still a draw, because white has bishop to d8 here. If white were to go king d7 and then king c8, then black wins the game because you guard the pawn. But apparently there's still a few tricks to save the game. But bishop to d6 is simply a brilliant move here, because when Arjun goes bishop to d6, now any idea of bishop to f2 is met with bishop c5 here, and you might be thinking, wait a second, isn't your pawn too fast going up the board, or actually, isn't your pawn much faster? It in fact is not, because white can run in here, take the pawn, and white is able to queen at the same time, and the game will be a draw. So here I go a5 instead. Arjun plays king b5, king g7, takes, king h6, king b5 takes, bishop e7, and now I go king g5. Now here I'm going to win the pawn on f5. White's pawn is fixed to a dark square, So I thought that maybe, just maybe, I can win this game. So we get king c5. Now here I play the move bishop to f2. If I were to take this pawn, after king d6, the game is going to be a draw, because when I go bishop to f2, white can simply go king c7, sack the bishop, take the pawn, and now it's not enough material. So I go bishop f2. We get king d6, takes, king e6, bishop b4, and now Arjun has this move bishop b4. Were it not for this move bishop b4, I would actually be close to winning this game. A sample line is bishop to f8, bishop c3. Apparently it's a draw still somehow, but... Oh, there's a draw because white somehow has this crazy idea, bishop c7 and bishop to a5 to pin the pawn. If I move the king, white sacks the bishop, and it's a draw. But I already thought here this was close to winning, and as a sample line, if white were to go something like here and you get b4, this is just winning because the wooden shield guards everything, and you escort the pawn up the board. But Arjun plays bishop b4. This stops me from getting the bishop to the c3 square to escort the pawn up to b4. And now there's simply nothing I can do, and the game ends in a draw very, very soon. I keep waiting, trying to hope that somehow he'll make the mistake of going here where I can get bishop c3 and b4, but alas, he never does. He just checks, waits between these two and these two squares. When my king does not guard the pawn, the bishop can go to e7. If my king guards the pawn, then you check on d2. So either way, there are multiple squares for the bishop, and now the game is going to be a draw. So I play king h6, king h5. Eventually, I finally go for I go for a little idea here with bishop c3 and b4. Arjun trades, goes f6, we both queen, and now the game simply ends in a draw. Now for me, this was a very disappointing result. I'm not going to lie, from the standpoint that I felt like I was pressing the whole game. Ultimately, in retrospect, I can be a little bit unhappy about knight a6, but I'm not really that upset about missing the other winning variation with this whole rook d8, e3, e2, because with 5 minutes on the clock, I just don't think it's very practical. So, a tough draw in a game where I was pressing the whole way with the black pieces, which is also very important, but alas, it ends peacefully. Now, this means we go to the classic Armageddon. So in the Armageddon, I'm playing with the black pieces once again. Very simple, 10 minutes for Arjun, 7 for me. If I draw or win the game, I get the extra point. So we get knight f3, d5, c4. This time I decide to play e6, d4, knight f6, knight c3, and now I play the move a6. Now this is what is known as the Janowski variation of the Queen's Gambit declined. We get takes, takes, bishop f4, c6, e3, bishop d6, takes, takes, queen c2, and now I play the move knight d7, stopping white from jumping to the center with the horse. We get bishop d3, castles, castles, rook e8, rook b1, and now I play the move a5. Arjun plays h3, I go b6 here, and this is simply a mistake for me. Now, I'm not going to lie, I was quite tired and quite emotionally drained after this long classical game, to be honest. So I kind of was just trying to play very fast, and when I played the move b6, I realized almost immediately that Arjun could play this move e4 here, and already black's in a world of trouble. If I trade on e4 and allow this, the wooden shield is attacking everything. The queen and the bishop create massive threats, and black is probably already lost in this position. Now, you can go queen c7 here, which is okay, but after rook c1, there's tons of pressure on the c file, there's pressure towards h7, and honestly, it just looks really, really bad. Now, surprisingly, the computer thinks after bishop b7, maybe black is fine, but I wasn't really feeling it. So Arjun goes rook fc1, I play bishop b7, a3, now I go c5, and here we get the move bishop b5. Now I play the move rook e8, and Arjun goes rook d1, and here I play knight f8. Now what I'm trying to do here is activate the horse to either g6 or e6 in this position. It's a very balanced center, or imbalanced center, you could say. If I take the pawn on d4 at some point, let's just say we get a position like this, white gets this great outpost against this isolated pawn on d5 here. Additionally, if white trades on c5, we end up with the classic hanging pawn structure where black looks to play d4, c4, and open up the diagonal. So Arjun goes queen f5. I play queen e7, and now we get the move knight to a4. Now, when I played queen e7, I had already seen the move knight a4, and I was very happy when this was played because now I played the move bishop c6, and I thought I was okay. But apparently, if white trades on c6 and goes knight c3, white's just winning a pawn on d5, and white's just winning the game. So this doesn't necessarily make me feel very good. Additionally, if I play queen e6, there's knight d5, takes knight e7, creating the classic family fork, and white will be up a pawn at the end here with this extra e3 pawn. So Arjun instead plays knight takes b6. This is a mistake, because now after takes, knight c8, and queen c7, I've sacked the rook, but this knight is trapped, meaning that we're going to be in a situation where I have a bishop and a knight in return for a rook, and I should be okay. So Arjun takes, I take, and now Arjun plays move rook c1. Now this move is simply a terrible move from Arjun. I think that Arjun was also feeling quite tired because in any normal world, you would get this move b4 right away, and after takes, knight e6. Black is worse. I didn't think I was that much worse here, but I figure with the two connected pawns here, white should have great chances to win. Instead, Arjun goes rook dc1, and now after the move a4, white is unable to create the chain of pawns, because if you ever go b4, I have end peasant with pawn takes pawn, bishop c4, I'll mop up the pawn on c5, and there's no danger. So we get a4, knight d4, bishop c4, c6, now I go knight g6, trying to bring the knight to the center to win this pawn on c6. Arjun plays queen c2, queen a7, I guard this pawn on a4. We get queen c3, knight e7, rook here, and now I play the move h6. Arjun goes rook c1, I play knight e4, queen e1, takes, knight f5, and here I play another horrendous move, knight to e7. Now this move is a clear sign of how tired I think both players were, because in a normal world, just about any other move is better. Something like rook c7, rook b8, but instead I go knight e7. Arjun trades, and now he plays this move rook to d4, and this is just a mistake. Actually, as soon as I took on e7, I realized that Arjun had this move rook takes pawn due to the pin, and if anybody's better here, it's white. Instead, Arjun goes rook d4. Now I play rook to b8, avoiding the rook d5 trick. We get rook c2, and here I play the move rook b6. Arjun goes queen a5, I play rook a6, queen e1, rook g6, and here after queen d1 and queen g5, this should be over. I should simply win this game 100 times out of 100. So Arjun plays queen b3, and now I play this move bishop b3. In retrospect, I think this is a move that I should not have played, not so much because it's not a good move, but because once I play bishop b3, white has some potential counterplay. The move that I think I should have played is this move f5, simply locking the horse and the bishop on these two squares. And if I had played f5, I have zero doubt in my mind that I would have ever even come close to losing this game. Instead, I play bishop b3, which is still fine. We get rook c8, king h7, and now Arjun plays the move h4. I take, we get queen f7, and here I play the insanely hilarious move rook to f6. Now, I don't even know what I was thinking when I played this move. Honestly, I think I just thought the game was kind of over here and there was nothing that white could do, so I just hallucinated. But in any normal world, I should just sack the rook, go queen g4, and the game will simply end in a draw. If white goes king to f1 trying to avoid, I can still check. And if king e1, I can simply take the rook here. And with the bishop and the knight here on great squares, the queen coming to c1 or h3, there's just no world where I lose the game. Instead, I go rook to f6 here, which is a terrible mistake. And after queen g8, king g6, and the move g3, as you can tell from the evaluation bar, suddenly white is winning. Now, I think in my mind, I was already very much on autopilot here, and I just thought there had to be some trick where the queen checks or something hanging. But as soon as Arjun played g3, anybody who was watching the game live on the stream probably noticed that I started laughing out of sheer disgust. And the reason is because now there is no way to attack the white king. It's guarded, and with the move rook c7 to attack the pawn on g7, suddenly there's nothing I can do. So I play queen g4, we get rook c7, and there's just no way to guard this pawn here. I go for the move king h5, we get takes, and here I play the move rook g6. I could have played queen e6 here, another option, but after takes f3, if I move the knight, there's rook h4, checkmating the king. If I don't move the knight, well, white just takes it and wins the game. So there's not a whole lot to be done. So I go rook g6, we get queen f7. Here I play the move bishop c4. Had I played queen e6, which is the best move, it's the same thing. Takes and f3, winning the knight or creating the checkmate on h4. So I play bishop c4, Arjun trades, he goes g4, and here I resign the game because I cannot take the pawn with the queen due to the pin. And after king g5, f4, the king has to yield here. It's being checked, and then white takes the queen and wins the game. So a very, very disappointing end to the day with this Armageddon game, but you're probably wondering why am I not super unhappy. Now, the reason I'm not super upset about this is because I gave everything towards the classical game, but more importantly, when it comes to this tournament, and some people are not going to like what I'm about to say, my focus is solely on the classical games. If I win some Armageddon games or I lose some Armageddon games, I might be a little bit disappointed, but my focus is on the classical games. So even if I were to draw every classical game and lose every Armageddon, it's not really going to change my mood all that much, because in my road to the candidates, I'm going to need to preserve my classical rating, and all these Armageddon games aren't really going to matter other than the prize fund in this tournament. So maybe some of you guys aren't really gonna like that comment, or maybe you're gonna think I'm saying copium. But it's definitely a different world, because in the old days, I'm gonna be honest, I would have been really, really mad about this Armageddon game and what happened. But honestly, I'm laughing, and it's a bit comical to me how this ended. Of course, I would have liked to have won, but you never know. The universe works in mysterious ways, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. So, on that note, at the halfway mark, I believe I'm still in third place despite this Armageddon loss. Tomorrow, I will be playing with the white piece against Fabiano Caruana, my countryman from the United States, who I beat in round number 1. I will have the white pieces once again. Everything is looking pretty good so far. When I look at the final back half, I have 3 whites and 2 blacks. Of course, round 6 tomorrow against Fabiano and round 7 against Magus are the big games left. Not to say the other players are weak or anything like that, but the marquee matchups are in the next 2 rounds. So I got to be sharp, and hopefully if I am, good things will happen. But that's going to do it for right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this recap from a very, very long fifth day here at Norway Chess in Stavanger. If you are not already subscribed to the channel, make sure that you smash that subscribe button below, and I will be back with a recap tomorrow after I play against Fabiano. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your day. See you. Bye.